kiss for you.
Alright, so today we're looking at how to avoid some common tech support scams. Now I'm going to go through these 7, hopefully in a relatively quick pace, but if you want to learn more about any of them, I will have some links down in the description that you can kind of read about the various different ones. So the first one I kind of want to talk about is recruiting scams. Now, this is mainly because I'm looking for a job and all that, and you see a lot of scams that pop up that a lot of people might not be able to recognize as easily because they're relatively new. So I'll pull up an example here. I had a couple of these happen with what I was doing, and the first thing you'll notice about the scam here is they're usually pretty relevant to what you were doing. So if you were looking for a job in IT or a job in construction or a job graphic design wise, right? They'll know what job you're looking for, what platforms you're looking for. They'll give you kind of a sense of pay and everything like that. And they'll a lot of the time use relatively known job application sites like Indeed and LinkedIn as kind of their baseline, right? They're not going to be contacting you and say, oh, I'm from this random place you've never heard of, right? They're going to be pretty close to home. Mine was pretty similar to this, right? They say, hello, I'm this person from this company. We're very pleased to have you found your resume or something. And you were interested in the position of, in this case, data entry specialist. They said the rate. What it ends up kind of going to, however, is a very weird text-based interview thing, for example. So like right here, right? We have an open position for this thing. If they say, is it okay if I give you more details about the job? This thing here, right? That is a pretty big red flag. I've noticed in a lot of these recruiting scams where they'll say, hey, can I give you more details? And that way you can respond. They realize that you're not a bot, and then they kind of, provide you with that information. If you're looking for this and you're like, oh, is it a scam or not? Usually they say, can I provide you more details? When you kind of have to start being worried because they start to get into the second part of the scam, which is the text-based interview portion of it. Basically, the recruiting person will talk to you and they'll say, hey, connect with this person. Here you are. You're going to have to set up either a Google Hangouts, Google Chat, or in this case, Microsoft Teams. And they'll basically say, hey, contact the HR recruiter here. Be a text-based interview only, and they'll talk all this about, right? And at the end of it, and this is where the scam comes in, they'll basically say, oh, yep, you're hired. Here you go. They'll say, hey, we're sending you a check for the, equipment you might need to use because this is a remote position. This is obviously a scam, but the reason it's a scam is because what they do is they check bounce, right? They say, oh, we're going to give you a check for like $5,000, and then all of a sudden it's a check for $9,000, right? And they say, hey, send the rest back. Or what'll happen is they say, okay, just buy it or whatever, and we'll reimburse you later. If it's not check bounce related, a lot of the time it also ends up being like identity theft. So in these interviews, they might ask you for personal information like your address or other things, your social security number, right, your credit card information, so they can send you various products and stuff, and so you never want to do that. And the reason this is able to actually happen is because a lot of the time they use different companies that might not be like easily contactable, and so if you do try and contact them, a lot of the time they don't reply. So that's obviously the first kind of way to avoid the scam. Just be aware of these things. If they're talking like, hey, you need to contact this HR person through chat, Google Chat or Teams, and they give you like an ID or something, or if they talk about details of the job, that's usually a good indicator that these are scams, right? Services being stopped. Now this is related to if you get on tech support and maybe your computer's acting funny or something. A lot of the time what they'll start off doing is go to this page, right, the services page. They'll type a couple commands in, stop, running, and they'll use that as an explanation to say, oh, your computer's infected, see all these things that are stopped, they shouldn't be stopped, and then you're going to need to buy an antivirus or some kind of cleanup job in order to get these fixed. Don't fall for that. This is a good way to kind of identify it. It's okay if applications are stopped running or services are stopped running. It's not weird. It's pretty normal. It just means whatever service is running isn't needed anymore, and so it's not going to be running all the time, right? Scammers a lot of the time will use this lack of knowledge to basically say, oh, you need us to help you fix your stuff, right? So if you see this page and they send you this page and they say, oh, look at all these things stopped, it's a scam, immediately get out. Like they might pretend that this is real by installing like malware bytes or something, which is a real application, but they'll just run it once right after a couple hours of doing what they're doing, and they get your money, and then they'll say, oh, look, it's all fine, right? So that's a lot of the time. So if you see this page, definitely be worried. The third one is obviously banks. Now, the reason I bring this one up is because it's still affecting a lot of people, and they're getting a little more sophisticated. So for bank or password reset scams, 2 examples here. First off, fake bank login. So as you can see from the screenshot here, I'll try and zoom in. It basically just says, hey, your account's on hold. We need you to enter your card number and expiration date in order to get it back online. Never do this. Not real. This is a fake kind of web form to enter in your information. right? A lot of people know not to click on links in various emails, but what they might not recognize is something like this that looks like an actual Bank of America thing, but it has this kind of setup, right, where it's asking you for your card number and it's asking you for your expiration date, which obviously lets you basically get to any account that they would need, right? So if it looks like this or anything like that, definitely avoid it and just go through their official site, or even the Bank of America app a lot of the time will let you do that without having to go to their website specifically. The second part of the Bank of America scam is obviously before you get to that point where you have to deal with entering in your information. It's that first call to action. If your call to action includes calling a number, ignore it and just call the number that's on whatever website you're dealing with, Bank of America, Chase, whatever. Call that number instead of calling this number, right? This is the case number, but like a lot of the time they'll have a number here. Don't call that. You can ignore that. Just basically call a number if you're interested. If you're like, oh, is this a real thing or not? You'll just call the Bank of America support number or through the app, and a lot of the time they'll be able to fix it from there. Don't call any numbers that you get from random emails, even if you suspect that it is real. Just be on the safe side and call the one that's directly on the website. Now, that being said, what's on their website could be a little bit iffy because, and this brings up the fourth common scam type, hijacking website alerts. Now, this was a thing that was pretty common a couple years back. I think it happened like Amazon and some web portal and some other stuff. But basically, the Google ad space, and this is an older one, right? You would type in something like Amazon, and the first ad thing would look like an Amazon link. You would click on it, and it would be incorrect. This would basically take you to a site that would start downloading various applications and trackers and things, and have alerts and pop-ups. And this was very common because it wasn't just Amazon that this was affecting. It was affecting a lot of different websites that were all kind of this thing, right? You'd have like what would seem like a real link. You'd click on it and it would take you to Amazon, but then have a pop-up, right? And so that's just obviously something to be aware of. And the way you kind of get around this one, never clicking on the first result for things. If you get taken to a website and it redirects the link, type in Amazon, and I see the first link. Now I have an ad blocker on, so my first link's going to be Amazon, right? It's going to take me to the page. If this had like ad link, I'm not going to click on that. I'm just going to go either to Amazon.com. But see, Amazon, right? It doesn't like go to Amazon and then go to a different thing. Because a lot of the time what you'll have with ads is because they have trackers on them for like commissions and stuff. You'll click on it and it'll go through like multiple different links. That's fine, right? There's nothing to be concerned about there. But if you see where it goes to a different link and then all of a sudden does Amazon, that's like amazon.help.com or whatever, that's not Amazon because, as you probably learned, the domain is whatever is directly after this .com thing. So if it's amazon.helpit.com, that's not the real website link, right? You can basically put your domain as whatever you want, but a lot of people think, oh, it has Amazon, it's Amazon. That's not how that works. It's only what's before the .com. So if it has something there, then that's how a lot of the time people get tricked into getting something and going to places they shouldn't. Now the fifth one is remote access. So this one's a little bit longer tail in terms of when it affects you, but let's say you've gotten into a support and they need remote access to your PC. Pretty common. A lot of the time this isn't really an issue. However, it could be an issue if you start seeing this. Now this is a black screen. If for whatever reason they need to set something up or set up any information or do any of that and they black out the screen, that's a red flag to take control back. You can do that by exiting the call, exiting the remote software, shutting down your computer, whatever you need to do to get out of this, because this is basically them affecting things on your end, right? This is them going into the command prompt and typing in a thing to delete some stuff, or installing a malware or a tracker that they can use. So if you have a black screen like this, and it's not just like a technical error, right? If they're actually like, if they say, well, wait a little bit here as we're getting this stuff up, and they like don't know why there's a black screen, right? They're like, there shouldn't be a black screen, right? That kind of stuff. You want to avoid that and X out, shut out the computer, all that stuff, because at that point they're doing things they shouldn't be and they don't want you to see it, right? A lot of the time this will be used if they're trying to convince you of like bank stuff, right? So if they like have your bank and then they black screen it and then all of a sudden they show your bank has $20,000 more than it should, right? Obviously they just edited the HTML, right? It's not actually that, but they'll try and bank scam and say, you got $20,000 from us, oh no, right? Gotta send it back, kind of thing. So definitely avoid that if you can. And not the first step, but like at this point in remote access, if you see this, you should probably start to worry. The sixth thing, fake tech support websites. So when you have a hijacked link, like we talked about with the Amazon one, a lot of the time you'll get sent to a fake scam website. This is a pretty exaggerated example here, but a lot of the time these fake tech support websites pop up like this, right? They'll have like support security kind of thing. They'll pop up a pop-up that's like you can't back out of, so it just keeps popping up. There's usually a loud noise of some kind. It freaks you out, right? All you have to do, close the window, close the browser. These aren't a problem. They're just JavaScript popping up a window, messaging alert window, basically. You don't have to worry. They can't do anything from this point, and there's nothing to worry about because obviously this isn't real, right? This isn't Microsoft, and so you don't really have to worry about a ton of this stuff. Just exit out of the thing. It can happen. It's happened to me a couple times, and part of that is because you get to the hijacking, right? You'll get links like this. You're like, oh, Amazon. That's not Amazon, and now it's popping up these things. The other part to this is, let's say you contact them, because instead of looking very obvious, it looks a little better, right? Let's say it looks like this. It says, your account has been temporarily blocked. In order to access your account, talk to the technical team, and it gives you a link or it gives you a phone number or something like that. This is part of like the fake antivirus is what I'm calling this one. The seventh one is fake antivirus. These are all mostly related. Right, you'll have a link that's hijacked, you'll click on that, it brings up this thing, and if it's not this thing, it's something like this that's basically showing, hey, your antivirus. It might even pop up in the corner here because Microsoft has like the alerts that you can have that pop up here, but a lot of the time they're from the desktop, and if you have that on, something like this, they could be able to use, like a website could pop up a little thing here, and a lot of the time McAfee or other antivirus also has a thing here, like Avast or something, has a little pop-up in the corner, so a lot of people confuse the two, right? They're thinking, oh, there's a pop-up here and it's saying that my McAfee that I have on my computer that I expect to protect me is, infected or has been blocked or something, right? And they click on that and then they go crazy. So things you can do here, obviously going to the whatever McAfee or Norton site directly, checking your account there to see if it's been blocked. Check to make sure that if you go to the little caret here and McAfee or some other thing is in the background, you can check it out there instead of just clicking on the pop-up, making sure if it seems odd, it's like, oh, why is all of a sudden it's a temporary block, then you can be a little bit suspicious of that. But this one is really more so for downloading as well, right? So let's assume you have this, it says McAfee, and you go through this process. The people on the phone that are scammers are basically going to install a fake antivirus, right? They'll say, oh, this one's blocked or whatever. Here's this better one that's free, maybe even, versus the one you're paying for, right? They might get you with that, and they'll install a fake antivirus. And here's a pretty simple explanation of how that works, right? You'll have a fake pop-up telling you that your device is infected or your account's blocked. They'll download a different antivirus, and that antivirus will actually affect your computer and get it infected and all that. So that's obviously not good, but it's kind of the trajectory, right? And so you can see as someone that would maybe click on a link here, get something like this or pop up that says, hey, your account's blocked, and then they'll download a new antivirus software that's actually like a shell or something that does a bunch of commands and infects the computer. And then if they, say, oh, no, it's infected, and they call support from this thing, now you're going to get even worse because then they're going to say, oh, yeah, we can fix this or whatever, and they, pay hundreds of dollars, and all they're going to do is, they might even get rid of the malware because at this point they already got your money, and so then you're like, oh, it was expensive, but at least it paid off. That doesn't really happen a lot of the time here. We went through recruiter scams, obviously, and how to detect those and make sure, again, if it's anything about details, if it's a text-only interview or anything like that, definitely be wary. And never click on links in emails. If it's asking you for a credit card number or an expiration date, avoid that. Go to the website instead. Never click on and call numbers. Never click on ads at the start here. Always go down. Always go to the official link. Check the domain, as we talked about before, if it's switching or not. Remote access at this point, if it's a black screen, if they're like, shady about the black screen, if they're not aware that there's a black screen, a lot of the time it's going to be because they're trying to do something they shouldn't. Edit the HTML to make it look like you have more money in your bank than you should. Do check stuff. There's the services we said before, and talking about that, making sure that if it says stopped, that's okay, right? If the people on your phone are talking about this, you want to definitely know that that's a scam. They're trying to use your naivety to basically say, hey, look at all these things that are stopped. You need our service to fix it. You don't need to worry about that, right? Don't panic if this thing's here. It can't really do anything. That's actually the last point I have here for number 8. Auto-downloading things, if it auto-downloads a website or an exe file, they can't do anything. They're not going to do any harm unless you open it, unless you look at it or open it or view it or anything like that. If they just download it, they can't really do a ton there. They don't really have access to do a ton there, right? So at this point, you can just delete it and you're fine. Don't be worried about that. As well as don't be worried about all the loud sounds and alert and everything. You don't need to be concerned. You can just get rid of it there. If you do happen to get to a stage where it's saying, oh, your account's blocked or whatever, don't call this number. Don't listen to them. If they say, hey, let's download a new antivirus, definitely don't do that, because this is just going to infect your computer with actual malware. The pop-up that pops up here on the corner isn't malware. It's not going to infect your computer or anything. It's just a notification that is trying to get you to do that, but it hasn't done it yet. So if you see that pop-up, you don't have to worry. You don't have to like scramble and delete a bunch of stuff and back everything up. There's not a problem at this point. It's just showing you notification. It's only until they use that to download an antivirus that actually infects your computer do you now have a problem, right? So just don't panic, I think, is the biggest takeaway from all these, right? Understand where you're going, understand, obviously, the telltale signs, but ultimately don't panic is, I think, the biggest takeaway that I can give you for all this stuff, right? I've had these happen with these websites. They're alert, they're scary, but you can't panic. They have these pop up. You can't panic. They try and download stuff, even with remote access. Obviously, it's pretty scary. Don't panic. You have total control in all these situations, okay? That's all you gotta understand for this. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully I explained it well. If you want more of this stuff, by the way, last video, thank you for the support on that. We talked a lot about, tips that you can improve your Wi-Fi speeds and all that. The next video is going to be also on how to improve the speed of your laptop or your computer. If you're interested in that, and some things you should check out. So if you're interested in that or any of the other series that I've done related to this, you can check out the other reviews playlist that I have to check for things like picking the right mouse and laptop and, computer basics and anything like that. So if any of that's interested, make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out my second channel for gaming content, and I'll see everyone in the next video.